We've been listening to Israel's President Isaac Herzog delivering an address to the U.S. Congress. He's the second Israeli president after his father to address U.S. lawmakers. His speech to Congress also marks modern Israel's celebration of its 75th year. There was a lot of applause during this speech, but his visit comes at a tenuous time as the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pushes forward with a controversial overhaul of the courts and on the heels of Israeli forces carrying out one of their most intensive operations in the occupied West Bank in 2 decades, and as Israel's come under growing criticism from many Democrats in the U.S. Let's bring in our correspondent in Washington, Ketevan Gorgistani. Ketevan, what was President Herzog's message to the U.S. Congress? What was he trying to accomplish here today?
Well, the goal here was to remind Americans and those members of Congress that he was speaking to about the long-running relationship, the strength of the relationship between the United States and Israel, and how far back it goes and how much these two countries have been through together. Because as you said, these are tense times, especially between the current administrations, whether it's the Biden administration and the Netanyahu government. There have been quite a bit of tensions between these two administrations. And this speech from President Herzog, who is seen in Israel also as sort of a mediator, was trying to be a sort of mediator between these tense governments. And the goal was to really focus on keeping the speech very bipartisan between Democrats and Republicans and very balanced when it came to some of the issues that they disagree on. Really a far cry from the fiery and very aggressive tone that Benjamin Netanyahu had when he gave a similar speech in front of Congress back in 2015. And so this message of a unity between the United States and Israel was also associated with some of the main issues that Israel has. Of course, President Herzog spoke about Iran. He talked about how this was in a common national security interest for both Israel and the United States for Iran not to get the nuclear power. But he also spoke about the Palestinians, and he had some very strong words for what he sees as an attack on Israel, and really saying that Israel wants peace, but the Palestinians, at least some groups from the Palestinian side, don't want peace because they attack Israel. These are things, of course, that many people, especially in this Congress, disagree with. And finally, there was this message about the criticism coming from the United States. You mentioned the judicial overhaul. This was something that he addressed, and he compared the U.S. and Israel right now with this criticism to a family that disagrees. He said you can disagree at the dinner table among family members, but don't forget that you are a family, and the U.S. and Israel are a family that sometimes disagree. They accept each other's disagreements, but they are still very united, because that was the overarching message, is that even though the U.S. has expressed some criticism about what is going on in Israel, it does not mean that the U.S. is not standing next to Israel, and that Israel is not standing next to the United States.